Have you ever seen a moment so shocking that it silenced an entire room? Imagine this, a woman standing in the middle of a crowded charity gala, her hand trembling after delivering a loud slap across another woman's cheek. But here's the twist, the woman she slapped was no ordinary guest. She was the billionaire's wife, a woman known not just for her wealth, but for her grace, humility, and kindness. The room froze, gasps filled the air, and in the next breath, the one who raised her hand fell to her knees, begging for forgiveness. What could push someone to make such a big mistake? And why did kindness change everything that followed? Stay with me until the end of this story, because the lesson will touch your heart deeply. And before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of kindness and humanity to life. The night had been beautiful. Crystal chandeliers sparkled, music floated through the air, and tables were filled with elegant guests in gowns and tuxedos. It wasn't just any night, it was the annual Hope for Children charity gala, an event organized by David Lancaster, a billionaire philanthropist who had dedicated his wealth to building schools, hospitals, and shelters for orphans across the country. His wife, Sophia Lancaster, was known as the gentle soul behind his success, the one who stood quietly by his side, often leading with compassion rather than pride. She wasn't just admired for her beauty but deeply respected for her humility. Despite her status, she always treated the staff like family, spoke with warmth to strangers, and used her voice to defend those who couldn't speak for themselves. But in every gathering, there's always a shadow, a person whose bitterness overshadows the light of kindness. That shadow tonight was Miranda Collins, a socialite who had always dreamed of marrying into wealth but instead lived constantly comparing herself to those who had more. Miranda had once been in love with David years ago, before he became a billionaire. But David had chosen Sophia. And though Miranda had moved on outwardly, inside, she carried a burning resentment for the woman who took her place. When she saw Sophia moving gracefully through the gala, warmly greeting guests, thanking volunteers, and even stopping to hug a server carrying a tray, something in Miranda's chest snapped. She whispered to herself, everyone praises her like she's an angel, but they don't know she's just a nobody who got lucky. Her bitterness grew, especially when Sophia approached her table later that evening, smiling as she said softly, "Miranda, thank you for attending tonight. Your presence means so much. Every guest matters to us." Miranda's heart, instead of softening, hardened even more. To her, Sophia's humility felt like pity. The moment came when the guests were gathering near the stage. Sophia stood there, preparing to announce the funds raised. David smiled at her proudly from his seat. But as Sophia walked past Miranda, offering another gentle smile, Miranda's anger boiled over. In front of hundreds of people, she hissed, "Stop pretending to be so perfect. You don't belong here." And before anyone could react, her hand flew across Sophia's cheek, a slap that echoed through the silent ballroom. Gasps filled the air. A server dropped his tray. Guests exchanged horrified glances. David rose from his seat in shock, his fists tightening. But before he could even move forward, everyone's attention turned to Sophia. The billionaire's wife, the woman everyone expected to retaliate or at least cry in humiliation, simply placed her hand gently on her cheek and looked at Miranda, not with anger, not with hatred, but with sorrow and compassion. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, not of pain, but of empathy for a soul drowning in bitterness. That look pierced through Miranda's chest harder than any sharp words could. Her knees suddenly weakened, her breath shaky, and in the very next moment, she dropped to the floor in front of Sophia, clutching her dress, crying, "I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I don't know what came over me. I hate how much everyone loves you." The crowd gasped again, whispering. This was humiliation beyond measure, for Miranda. Yet Sophia gently reached down, touched her shoulder, and whispered, "Stand up, Miranda. Don't lower yourself like this. Anger can destroy us, but forgiveness can heal." She gently helped Miranda back to her feet. Her kindness stunned everyone. Instead of demanding Miranda's removal or revenge, she offered her grace. But the night wasn't over. This moment was just the beginning of a story that would show the true power of kindness, humility, and forgiveness. The silence in the room lingered for a moment longer until David stepped onto the stage, his voice steady though his eyes burned with unspoken emotion. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, glancing at Sophia with pride, "tonight we witnessed something rare. Not just generosity in donations, but generosity in spirit. My wife showed us all that kindness has more power than anger. And for that, I am prouder of her than of any achievement I've ever earned." The audience erupted into applause, not for David, not for the billions, but for Sophia's grace. But behind the applause, Miranda stood trembling. Her hands fidgeted, her eyes red from tears. She felt like the whole world had seen her darkest side. Guests whispered about her, some shaking their heads, others judging her harshly. She wanted to disappear, to run away. But then something unexpected happened. Sophia, instead of leaving her to drown in shame, reached for the microphone and said, "Tonight is not about mistakes. It's about love. We all carry wounds, and sometimes those wounds make us hurt others. But if we open our hearts to kindness, healing can begin. Miranda, I forgive you." The room went completely silent again. Miranda gasped. Forgive? After being humiliated publicly, after being slapped, after being ridiculed, Sophia still forgave? The weight of her kindness was unbearable, and Miranda broke down in sobs. The rest of the gala continued, but the air had changed. The incident was no longer a scandal, it became a story of hope. Guests donated more generously than ever, inspired by what they had witnessed. Journalists reported not about the slap, but about the extraordinary forgiveness shown by Sophia Lancaster. That night, as the last guest left, Miranda lingered near the door, unsure whether to approach Sophia again. David watched cautiously, protective of his wife, but Sophia nodded gently. Miranda walked up slowly, her voice trembling. "Why? Why would you forgive me? I humiliated you. You could have destroyed me tonight. You could have had me banned from society, ruined my name. Why show me kindness instead?" Sophia smiled softly and replied, "Because I know what pain feels like. And I refuse to add more pain to the world. If I can stop the cycle of bitterness by choosing forgiveness, then that's what I'll do." Her words sank into Miranda's heart like seeds planted in dry soil. Tears filled Miranda's eyes again, but this time, they weren't of shame, they were of gratitude. Days later, Miranda did something that shocked everyone even more. She reached out to Sophia privately, asking if she could volunteer at the charity's orphanage. Sophia agreed without hesitation. Slowly, Miranda began showing up, first with hesitation, then with genuine dedication. For the first time in years, she felt useful, needed, and purposeful. She read books to children, helped serve food, and even organized small fundraising events herself. The transformation was so real that people began to notice. Journalists who once wrote about her scandal now wrote about her redemption. And every time someone asked Miranda why she changed, she answered with tears in her eyes, "Because one woman chose kindness when I gave her every reason to hate me." Months later, the orphanage held a small celebration. Children ran around laughing, balloons danced in the air, and Sophia stood in the corner, watching with pride. Miranda approached her, holding a bouquet of fresh flowers. "I wanted to thank you," Miranda whispered. "You saved me from myself." Sophia took her hands and said gently, "No, Miranda. You saved yourself. I only reminded you that kindness was still an option." The two women hugged, and for the first time in years, Miranda felt peace. And so, what started as a moment of shame became a lifelong lesson, that kindness has the power to heal wounds deeper than we can see. Sophia's forgiveness didn't just change Miranda's life. It inspired everyone who witnessed that night to look at their own hearts differently. And maybe, just maybe, that's the message for all of us. The next time we're hurt, betrayed, or humiliated, we can choose to add more pain, or we can choose kindness, and in doing so, change not just one life, but many. So, dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share more stories of kindness, forgiveness, and humanity with the world. Remember, kindness is never wasted, it always comes back, sometimes in ways we least expect.